Once a giant, always a giant. For me, it's only a giant.
What's going on YouTube, Diggy546? Definitely hit that subscribe button if you're new. Like the video if you like the video. And I won't tell if you click that bell. But let's go ahead and get into this. So the first order of business, I got three. But the first order of business is that we re-signed Isaiah Hodgins. No surprise here. He was a guy we had exclusive rights to as a free agent. It was a no-brainer to bring him back for another year. He didn't get a long-term deal or anything, but I'm pretty sure he's back for another year. He got onto the scene in November and became Daniel Jones' #1 target. So that speaks for something. The guy's 6'4", big body receiver, decent blocker, team player, soft hands, touchdown machine from what we saw. If you extrapolate his touchdown numbers throughout the season, he's a double-digit touchdown guy. 3 touchdowns in the last 4 weeks of the season, and then 4 touchdowns in the last 5 weeks of the season. So once he got into the end zone a lot for the limited time that he was, a reasonable target for Daniel Jones. I mean, what can I say? The Vikings game, 89 yards in the regular season and a touchdown. Then in the playoffs, biggest stage, 8 catches, 105 yards, and a touchdown with a 32-yard long, and that was on a bad ankle. But that Eagles game didn't really show up against Bradbury. 1 catch for 3 yards, but Bradbury's done that against guys like Michael Thomas, Mike Evans, and I think Isaiah Hodgins, his ceiling is a guy like Michael Thomas. And I'm not saying like he'll ever catch 150 balls or whatever Michael Thomas did, but I think he can be that style of a player, a guy that works the middle of the field, a guy that can find the spots in the zone. And I think he'll end up being a really solid player at the very least for the Giants going forward. So it was obviously a no-brainer to pick him up. I think that this contract will probably be less than $1 million this year. And I think, to be honest, he's a better option than some of the guys that we would go out and pay $2-3 million to. The rest of this wide receiver core, there's some decisions to be made. Darius Slayton is a guy that you got to make a decision on. Do you want to bring him back just because of that chemistry in the offense and with Daniel Jones? But he also has a ton of drop issues, a ton of concentration issues. He cannot run routes in the short area. So they can just play the deep routes. They can play those deep crossers. They can play the drags because they're not really worried about this guy sitting down in his route and really shaking them out of their shoes. So if Slayton isn't going to be able to be that threat there, he's not as good of a deep threat if he can't run those short routes. Then you got Sterling Shepard. Obviously, he's pretty much your #1 target, and I think we would be very productive with him as our #1 target. But he's never healthy, and this isn't an indictment on him. He just has the worst luck. He's got a ton of injuries. We don't know how he'll bounce back from those injuries. And again, he has not been able to stay healthy. Very unfortunate. Very, very unfortunate. But it just is what it is. Hopefully, he's loved by Giants fans. I still plan on getting the Sterling Shepard jersey. Hopefully, he's a guy that's able to bounce back. But do the Giants want to pay him, whatever it is, probably the vet minimum, to come back? And where does he fit in? If we draft a rookie, you got Wan'Dale, you got Isaiah Hodgins, you got whoever else will be there. But where does he fit in? Do you only see him as a slot guy? Because when he came back and was in the slot, he was really good. So there's another conundrum there. And then Kenny Golladay, you probably are releasing. Are you bringing back Richie James? Ton of stuff to figure out there, wide receiver. But Isaiah Hodgins was a guy that I pretty much was sure would be back going into 2023. And then I want to talk about the next thing that I want to talk about today, which is Daniel Jones and Saquon Barkley. Their projected contract numbers came out. Daniel Jones starting off, they're thinking that Daniel Jones is going to make north of $35 million. Big surprise. I mean, listen, it's not a surprise at all. It's not a surprise at all. He's a starting quarterback. He led his team to the playoffs. He was instrumental in his team making the playoffs, whether it be throwing or running it. And that's just what you pay a quarterback. I mean, I think it was one of the guys on Good Morning Football. He said he wishes there was a middle class for quarterbacks. You used to be able to pay them 24 million, but now there's all or nothing. But guess what? Quarterbacks are making 45, $50 million. We're talking about paying Daniel Jones 35. That is a middle class for quarterbacks. Now, is that still a lot of money? Is that still a lot of money to commit to a player that some people aren't sure about? Yes, it's a ton of money. And that's your real issue right there. You have two options with Daniel Jones. At the end of the day, this is what Joe Schoen is going to have to decide. Do you want to pay him a 3-year deal? Which I wanted to give Daniel Jones 3 years, 99 million, or 3 years, 100 million. You guarantee him, 80 million. And then after the first 2 years, if you don't like him, you can cut him and have a very low cap hit if you cut the guy. And then also, you could draft a quarterback after the first year, have him sit for a year, and then have Daniel Jones gone the third year and the quarterback step up in his second year. That is something that I had as the safest way to address this. But now the price is going up. He's going to make more than 35 million if the Giants give him a long-term deal. When I say long-term, I mean more than a year. He's going to make that much or more. So that makes things complicated. The second option is you give him a 5-year deal. If you give Daniel Jones a 5-year deal, you can afford to go out and sign free agents in crucial years, because his cap hit some years may be 10, 15 million. Some years it might be 40 million, but some years it could be, like I said, 10 or 15 million. So both have pros, both have cons. But if you give the guy a 5-year deal, you're not getting out after 2 years. You're going to have to eat that cap. You're going to have to eat that money if you have to get rid of him after 2 years. There's no way out of that, unless maybe you do it after 3 years. But that's a long-term commitment. That's something that you just cannot get past there. So, of course, like I said, you give him a long-term 5-year deal, you can work around them a lot easier. You give them a short-term deal, you have less money to work around them, but you can get out quicker. So what did I come to? What conclusion did I come to? I think the thing that you have to do at this point is just place a non-exclusive tag on him. And I hate to do it, but he's going to be in the second year of this offense. He's going to have better players around him next year. He's going to have a better line. So you expect him to take a next step. You expect him to go out there and consistently make plays, consistently have this offense making explosive plays like he did, the last 3 games of the season against bad teams. But he did it, against the last couple of good games he had were at the end of the season. So if he can continue to play like that over an entire season, and the guy finishes with even 29, 30 touchdowns passing, and then, 4 or 5 rushing, then yeah, you go ahead and give him a long-term deal. But the price is going to go up. That's one thing that's going to happen. But if you slap that franchise tag on him, it's 29 million for this year. You do that, that's your tag. And if somebody wants to pay this guy a bunch of money, they're going to have to give up 2 first-round picks. And you guys follow me right here. If they give up 2 first-round picks, we basically are guaranteed to have the capital to trade up next year to take whatever quarterback we want if we lose Daniel Jones because of that. And then, of course, we can take a fraction of that money and go out and sign, a bridge quarterback if we don't believe in Tyrod Taylor for a year. But I don't want to go down that route. I would rather keep as much continuity as possible. But these are all options. Now, my next thing and my last topic I want to talk about is Saquon Barkley. And they're saying that Saquon Barkley has his representation has talked the Giants into 14 million so far. And this is very concerning to me for the running back position, because I want to just pull up the top contracts for running back per year. I want to pull that up so you all can see. Let's see, average. I'm on Spot Rack right now. Average per year for these running backs. You got Christian McCaffrey making 16 million. Is Christian McCaffrey worth 16 million a year? You probably say yes, but he's also in a super situation, and if he was still on Carolina, they would not be as good. But I think the Giants are in a good situation. So yes, is he worth that 16 million? Yes, but he's also a guy that you can really play at wide receiver who's juking guys out of their shoes at running routes as a wide receiver. As a slot receiver, Christian McCaffrey could be a good player in the NFL. Ezekiel Elliott, did that work out at $15 million per year? No, it did not. It didn't work out. Alvin Kamara, $15 million. I would say it worked out for the most part, but he's got some off the field stuff. But I would say for the most part, it's worked out. But again, he's a guy that could be a slot receiver in the league. He's a guy that could literally be a slot receiver. Dalvin Cook is your next guy at $12.6 million. And I say that's where you need to pay Saquon at. $12.6 million for Dalvin Cook. Derrick Henry is $12.5 million. Nick Chubb, who you can argue is better than Saquon and more effective than Saquon at this point in the career, $12.5 million. 12.2 million. Joe Mixon's at $12 million. Aaron Jones is at $12 million. And then Saquon right now for this past year, it was at $7.7 million. He's the next guy after that. I think Saquon belongs right smack dab in the middle of those running backs because he does not provide the receiving ability of Christian McCaffrey or Alvin Kamara. He just doesn't. Catching balls out of the backfield, I know people are going to point to the rookie season, but catching balls out of the backfield is not the same as lining up in the slot or even running routes out of the backfield and consistently getting open as a route runner. He is not that level of a route runner, and that's okay. So I think you give this guy $13 million, 13.5 at the most, and if he goes over that, you can go out and this is a very good running back class. This is a very good running back class. I think you can go out there and you can get a running back in the third round who's a starting caliber running back, and then you can take a guy in the 6th or 7th round who's probably going to be a 1B level running back, because all you need in the NFL, and I don't mean to downgrade what Saquon has done for this team, but all you need in the NFL for a good running game is a stable of backs that are competent backs that aren't horrible, and a good offensive line. The offensive line is what stands out. And why are you going to pay a quarterback big money and pay a running back big money and go out and probably get at least one decently sized contract for a free agent this year? And then you also have to pay Andrew Thomas, and then you also have to pay a ton of other people coming up. You got to pay Dex. So I'm thinking that you tell Saquon 13.5, that's where it's a hard stop for me, because 13.5 is $1 million more than Dalvin Cook and Derrick Henry and Nick Chubb. I think that's a fair deal. 14 to me is too much. That's just me. It's just too much for me. I really, in a perfect world, would have a stable of running backs, even with Saquon Barkley. So I think it stops at 13.5. And I love Saquon. I hope that this guy can make as much money in NFL as possible, but I just do not want to pay a running back that much who's dealt with a ton of injuries, who, again, I mean, he's getting up there. He's getting up there. He's got probably about 3-4 more years at most at this level of play. So why not just go back into the pool? Why not build the offensive line out and just continue to run the ball with a stable of backs like almost every other team in the league is able to do? So those are my takes on Hodgins coming back, on Saquon's contract, and on DJ's contract. I like all three of these guys, people. I'm just giving my opinion on what I think needs to go into building a team the best. It is what it is. But like I said, those are my opinions. You guys let me know what you're thinking of bringing DJ back at above $35 million, bringing Saquon back at above $14 million, and bringing back Hodgins on obviously a cheap deal. The Hodgins one is a no-brainer. But you guys let me know what you're thinking down in the comments. If you made it this deep into the video, come on, just hit the subscribe button. I make Giants content primarily, draft content secondarily, and during the season, I'm going to be doing a lot of reacting to pretty much most of the NFL games and everything NFL. So if you made it this deep, go ahead and join the D6 squad.